to Ring Talk Season 2. Myself, Martin Theobald, with me, Steve Goodwin. How you doing, Steve?
Good, my friend. Very good.
Excellent. And boxer Jack Owen. How are you, Jack?
All good, all good, all good. Ready to fight.
Excellent. What were you drinking, Jack? I was intrigued by that, by the way.
Green tea, mate. Green tea. You know, living the life over here, mate. You know.
Oh yeah, it looked a bit orange on here. It was a bit shady looking. That.
Maybe it's just the lighting, mate.
Yeah. I was a bit worried. I thought it might be some nutritional.
Yeah, no whiskies, mate. No whiskies. You know.
So yeah, let's start with you, Jack. So light heavyweight, you staying at light heavyweight? Is that
super middle now? Super middle, yeah. So my debut fight was sort of like at super middleweight, bang on 12 stone. I had my first and second fights there, and then I think, to be honest with you, just it come down to like opponents, and we had a couple of pullouts and stuff. So my sort of third and fourth fights were at light heavy, and to be honest with you, I sort of walked round at 12 and a half. You know, stone. Like, I can make light heavy quite comfortably. So really, super middleweight's kind of like a better weight for me. But obviously, we'll see come November once we're under the lights, and how it goes. So
yeah. So let's talk people through your career to date. You've had 4 fights, 3 wins, 1 draw.
That's it.
And then you were due to fight in September. COVID, life, boxing, board, rules, whatever. A whole litany of reasons, but let's focus on the positive out of it. Is that you've got a November date now?
That's it. I'm to be honest with you, it was devastating. Obviously, with September being pulled out, we put a lot of work in. I've been working for probably like near off 18 months. But I knew as soon as the September fight got cancelled, my coach sort of gave me a week off just to sort of like, you know, relax a little bit because we've been training so hard, and then it was all systems go again. You know, we're back into it, and all of a sudden we're like 5-6 weeks out. So but I always say to people, before you know it, it's like you're back in the changing rooms getting your hands all taped up ready to go. So
and before you know it, you'll be getting your gloves off in the changing room and celebrating a win.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. So
so I mean, we were just discussing off-camera kind of ideas about opponents. You're still at that phase in your career where you can't be picky, can you, ultimately? Certainly not now when, getting opponents is more difficult than probably any point in Steve's involvement in boxing.
I think that's the main thing at the minute. That's why obviously you need a good team around you, you know, good trainer and good promoter, manager and everything else, just to sort of give you the right fights at the right time. But yeah, COVID's messed things up, innit, for a lot of people. So now it's a case of just staying ready, and any opportunities that arise, we take them as they come, you know. So
yeah, and so going back to kind of your weight is, you know, you probably have to be ready to flip between weight divisions when necessary. And it's not as if you're out there studying a potential opponent for November. You might have someone in mind, but you need to be prepared to shift.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We just stay ready. Do you know what I mean? And this is why, I'll be honest with you, even with the September fight, like I got given one opponent, and I don't even look into the opponents that much. Like, I get people say to me, "Oh, have you checked him out? Have you seen him box before?" And I'll say no. And a lot of the time, it's because because it might change, and secondly, because I don't really worry about the opponent too much. I sort of more focus on myself and what I'm going to do, you know, and then just go from there, really. So
so who trained you, Jack? Give us the background on kind of where you're at and kind of where you're from.
Yeah, so my coach at the minute is Alan Gray, and I also train at Stallard's boxing gym. So Greg Stallard helped me train. They helped me train for my debut. And then recently, they have become my sort of full-time coaches. When we went into lockdown, me and my previous coach, who sort of trained me before I turned pro, and for my first 4 fights, we sort of parted ways forever. It was mutual, you know, it was just one of those things. I think COVID messed a lot of things up and rocked the boat a bit. So now, training with Alan and Greg Stallard and Stallard's gym, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's almost like a reset opportunity. As you say, COVID messed a lot of things up. What have you found the differences to be since you changed gyms, new environment, presumably new training?
Do you know what the main thing for me was? I was always a bit conscious as a pro because I didn't really have a full-time gym. you know, and I was like fluttering between gyms, and now it's like having that little bit of stability and also training amongst other pros, I think has brought me on leaps and bounds. And I feel like in the last sort of 18 months, I've really benefited. And that was one thing in September we were looking to showcase, was like the difference, you know, from me training before to me training now. I sort of was chatting to my coach the other day, and Alan was saying to me, I think I've probably sparred more rounds in the last 18 months than I did for my like 4 fights pre-COVID.
Right.
And that's not any like bad point. It's just because now there's people in the gym ready to go all the time. You know, sometimes you walk in the gym for a bag session and it's like, oh, should we do some rounds? So we, you know, jump straight in the ring. So yeah, it's good. It's really good.
What's Jack like to manage, Steve?
Easy. One of the nicest guys you could ever manage. If there's, you know, I always say to you, you know, and I genuinely say, I'd say off camera as well, there are certain boxers that you just want to do even more for, and Jack's one of them.
Thank you.
So you're in a position where, I mean, it's almost not that it was anything to do with your fault or your reasoning, but you want to make amends for what happened in September with Jack's fight falling out, and make sure it doesn't happen in November.
And also, what I also think is it wasn't anybody's fault. It's circumstances of what was going on at that time with the board and everything else, and the opponents, and he just took it. He was no grief. He took it well. And you think, no, I've got to really, really make sure that we turn him into a champion, because you never forget when somebody just does the right thing and is really decent and is a decent human being. And then, you, from my point of view, you even more so. I want him to be a champion. I will not give up till he's a champion.
Thanks, Steve.
What level do you reckon you go to, Jack? Steve's talking about you being a champion. What champion does that mean to you?
Do you know what? There's a lot of people out there, like, you know, sit there and say they want to be world champion and stuff like that. And obviously, like, I'd be lying to you if I said that, like, it wasn't obviously a dream or it don't come into your head, you know. But for me, I'm at a point in my career, I didn't really have much amateur experience. My sort of world title fight at the minute's the Southern Area, you know. Like, I want to fight for that Southern Area title. At the minute, I feel like I'm sort of doing my apprenticeship, even though I'm doing it on the job. I didn't, as I said to you, because I didn't have the amateur sort of pedigree from some of these boys. I feel like I'm learning every fight, you know, like I already look at it now and I go, right, I've fought a tall kid, you know, can punch a bit. I fought a short kid who's a southpaw. You know, like I'm just ticking boxes at the minute in terms of being a fighter and being a professional. So yeah, Southern Area title for me. That's my end goal at the minute. And then from there, if I win that, touch wood I do, then we see what goes where. But I'll fight anyone really. So
do you keep an eye on other lads around your weight division in the Southern Area? Do you perceive yourself to be like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 fights away? That lad's coming up about the same stage I'm at. I'm going to keep an eye on their career.
Nah, I mean, you're obviously conscious. Like, if you look at the bill for a show, you look at people that are like, oh, middle, super middle, light heavy, but not really. Like, I kind of just focus on myself. I stay in my own lane. I keep my head down, you know, like, and that's even in the gym as well. We've got a good little gym. We've got good fighters wrapped around us, good coach, good team, good manager and promoter. I just do my thing. I do my training, keep myself fit, and I stay ready for sort of any opportunity that comes up.
I like it. Touch on the blip in your career, Jack. The draw with Lewis Van Pooch.
Yeah.
People will look at that on paper and go, fucking Van Pooch, he's lost a million fights, whatever it is. The guy's had like 110 fights or something.
Yeah.
Obviously, Steve, know that Lewis is probably one of the most talented fighters in the country. Not just at what he does, but on any night he could choose to turn it all on.
Yeah, he switch it on. How
did you find that fight? Like, and I know you were saying earlier you don't prepare for an individual fighter necessarily, but was there any mindset thing with Lewis whereby you don't know what version of Lewis is going to turn up that night when you fight him? Because sometimes he might kind of walk somebody around a little bit. Sometimes he comes to have a go. Sometimes he's somewhere in the middle. was there any kind of, or what were you anticipating when you went on the ring walk that night?
Nothing. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I thought I would win, and I thought I'd win comfortably because I'm quite confident in the training that I do and everything. You know, like. But also, it's a fight. Anything can happen. I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, I was in the Tesco's around the corner from York Hall on the day of that fight, and I'm at the self checkout buying like a bit of fruit and some water and stuff. And I don't know if this story's ever come up on a Poochie interview or whatever. But I remember looking to my left, I looked to my right, and he was actually at the checkout next to me. And he literally looked at me and just went, "All right." And I went, "Yeah, all right, see you later," like that. And I knew from that moment it was going to be a good fight. I knew he was going to be up for it, you know. And it's exactly like you said. You know what? Like you look at his record, and you might think, "Oh, like he's no good." But let me tell you now, all these boys can fight, and they can all bang, and they can all punch, and like you can't write someone like that off. And he's due a win. He'll come, he'll knock someone out eventually, just with a lovely peach of a left hook, and even being in there with him, he caught me with a good right hand, I think, in the first or second round, and he split my eyebrow open, and it was just a bit of a messy affair. I still think I nicked it, but that's maybe a boxer's pride coming into it, isn't it,
Yeah, but William Warburton, he's kind of retired a little bit before your time, I guess, isn't he? But, he could turn up any day of the week, and he could turn over, anyone up to British level. If he fancied it, he'd turn up and have a go. Yeah, I'd sit there multiple times down at ringside with him, and he's fighting in a couple of hours. He's just been off to KFC or McDonald's or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a bit full tonight. I don't think I'm going to do it."
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. I think with these journeymen, like you can replicate your training as much as you can to make it as accurate to a fight as possible and get the best sparring partners in and blah blah blah. But nothing beats that ring time under the lights. And for these guys that are on the away side, that come in every week and box, they've got it. Like, Lewis Van Poch, he could do 4 rounds every night of the week, 6 rounds probably every night of the week, and be comfortable doing that, where it takes a lot out of some of us fighters who are sort of coming up through the ranks,
Yeah, absolutely. And how much, because we were chatting again off camera earlier, and you just chatting about boxing, you knew more about what was going on in the current boxing scene outside of your weight division up and down than most boxers seem to do. So do you kind of live and breathe boxing quite a lot?
Yeah, I do. I must admit, I'm a little bit of a boxing addict. Do you know there's a fighter, what's his name, boxes on the Matchroom show, he's an away fighter, Kane Baker, I think it is.
Yeah, the one who fought Conor Benn, and
and he says he's a boxing fan with a license.
Yeah,
that's what I kind of am. Like, before I was ever a boxer, before I started boxing, I used to get up at 5 a.m. with my dad and watch the Hatton fights, in Vegas and Mayweather's and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, for me, I do kind of like eat, sleep and breathe it, fighting-wise, and also just the sport. I follow it quite deeply.
Yeah, I'm always quite surprised when I speak with boxers, and they don't really, outside of maybe their own division, they don't really know what's going on in the world of boxing. Then you get lads like Mike McGoldrick up north. Mike knows everything that's going on in every weight division. You look at like Rakeem Noble. I know he's retired now, but Rakeem knows everything, takes the piss out of the sport relentlessly. He loves it. He's a great character for it.
It's funny because I've got friends that, for example, could probably tell you the starting lineup for every Premier League team at the minute. They tell you every player front to back, right? And I've always said I'm not a football fan, but I'm an Arsenal fan for my sins, right? And
join the club.
Yeah, oh, nice one, Steve. Nice.
Look behind there. 1971 squad.
I grew up in the glory days. I had Thierry Henry and all that. So I grew up and it was all good. I was at that Invincible season, I had it good. So I was quite fortunate. But yeah, that's the thing for me. I'm a massive boxing fan. And boxing suits me. I do see myself as kind of like a boxing fan, with a pro license,
Yeah. Are you got any sponsors, Jack, you want to shout out? You can give a mention to that help support your career.
Do you know what? So in the transition over from obviously changing trainers and teams and stuff like that, and obviously because of COVID, I had some sponsors that were with me throughout my sort of early journey. But now, obviously, where I haven't boxed in nearly 18 months, 2 years, I've sort of dipped off again. So listen, the sponsors will come, hopefully. We just need to get a win in November and then keep pushing on from there, you know.
All right, so spin that around. On the plus side, there's plenty of room for growth with sponsorship. So any sponsors want to get involved, what kind of areas, what kind of like geographical areas can, you know, if people are based?
I live Bromley in Kent way. My gym's out in sort of like Tolworth, Sutton, Croydon areas. So all round sort of that southeast London. That's all me, you know. So
awesome. Bromley, everywhere. Sutton, right. Any of you places around there, get on board with Jack, support him, help him out for his career. It's a hard slog, isn't it? It's a real hard slog. You know,
I'm a little bit fortunate in the sense of like, I mean, I work full time, you know, so I'm not like a fighter who's relying on, you know, like taking fights that maybe shouldn't to be getting paid to pay the bills and stuff like that. I do work full time, so I'm fortunate in that sense.
Good on you. But it's, you know, I know it's a hard slog for boxers starting out. You've got all your medicals, your equipment, your tickets, your training, your full-time job. You want to try and make time to see your family. All these things. So any local businesses to Jack, get on board, give him a shout, and help support his career as he moves along.
Appreciate it.
That's all right. Who watched any of the boxing of the weekend? Quickly touch on that. It's probably the worst Sky Sports card I remember in a long time. It was garbage.
I've actually only seen highlights and very brief stuff, but was it that bad?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you picked all of the home fighters, and I'm talking Hughie Fury, Savannah Marshall, Chris Eubank, I think I'm missing one, but I think you've got odds of 0.06 to 1.
Yeah, and even the opponents, like they talked a big old game as well, and they all sort of like quit on their stalls, and there was a couple of people didn't really look in shape, and.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Hammer looked like he couldn't be bothered to be there.
Yeah.
Savannah Marshall's opponent, I don't blame her for ducking out of it, because I don't want to get hit by Savannah Marshall, and she wasn't very good. So I don't see any point in her being there. Same with Eubanks one. They talked about him breaking a rib, and he was sat down like laughing on his stool at the side. It doesn't look like a broken rib to me. It's like an easy way out. So
wasn't some of the? I saw a bit of the Bradley Ray Joe Smith fight. I saw a bit of that.
Yeah, well, that was
a decent fight.
And they put it on YouTube. They didn't put it on Sky.
And
that's happening a lot, I know.
And then the April Hunter, I haven't seen it yet, but that was supposed to be okay. April Hunter against Bavington, that was supposed to be an okay fight.
Yeah, she lost, didn't she?
Yeah, she got beat. Bavington's a good fight. Bavington's a good fighter, underrated, decent fighter. But yeah, so no, that was I don't know. I was expecting the Sky shows to be better than this early on. I think the last one at Wembley wasn't too bad, bearing in mind they lost the Eubank fight. But I thought they'd be better. But you know, maybe they're just getting started. I don't know.
The Lewis Ritson fight falling out, it's not ideal, especially in the northeast. But yeah, I mean, call it as if it was Eddie Hearn putting that on, boxing fans would say that's shite, do better. So there's no reason to give them a pass just because they're new. For me, like, no, do better.
There's a standard even that comes with Sky Sports boxing, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And Hearn lowered that standard to a degree over the years, but we called him out for it, and it's only right that I think they get called out for still putting on.
You've got to remember the people they brought in, the actual people who's promoting, have got very, 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 very little experience in boxing. So
yeah, so I could make better than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could as well, to be fair.
Yeah. With a limited budget, I could put on 2 English title fights and an area title fight that were better than that, and still have room for Eubank at the top to bring in the more casual fan. No problem.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think they're, you know, they could be making better fights on. I don't understand why they don't put more competitive. But then they got one with the Bradley Ray Jet Smith fight. They had a really competitive fight, and they shoved it off, and they binned it. So that's the sort of thing that I think are bad decisions. They're putting the really good fights not on telly. Even, for example, when Linus Udofia fought Vannozzi, his fight was so much better than some of the really what I consider to be a poor fight that they put on telly. And so I think the decisions on what goes on Sky and what goes off Sky, somebody's making an error. So I don't know whose fault that is, but they're not putting the right fights on live telly.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard, should it? I mean, you have your headline act, you have one underneath that, call it, I don't know, Savannah Marshall, Chris Eubank. Underneath that, you put on a competitive fight. Underneath that, you put on Hughie Fury. So you've still got that mix of kind of names, but then the competitive fights to keep people watching. But
yeah,
strange one. Anyway, that's enough about that because I don't want to talk about it anymore because it was Rewind to Plymouth Friday night.
We're going to go Saturday night.
Saturday night.
So we've got 2 shows to go through, and we've got the Plymouth, and we've got
the Liam Dillon, Dennis Wahomey fight.
Yeah, so if we go back to Plymouth, I'm just going to pull the card up so I don't miss anybody off.
So there's quite a few upsets and kind of turnovers in this.
Yeah, I mean, well, the main event was Brad Pauls against Angel Emiloff. I thought Brad would stop him in 3 or 4. It went 59-56, and I think 59-55. And I think Brad will admit it wasn't his greatest performance. And Emiloff was super tough, and he caught Brad quite a bit. It was actually an entertaining fight to watch, but it was more competitive than I thought it would be. I mean, I was more concerned about whether Angel Emiloff ended up in hospital or not before the fight, rather than whether Brad would win on points. And I genuinely thought, I was worried that Emiloff, if he got hit by Brad, but my God, that man is super tough, and full credit to him. He really had a go. It was a really good fight. But Brad Pauls now, I think he needed that blowout, and he'll now move on to his Wasserman Sky TV deal, and we'll be looking to sort a date out for him in the next few days. So that was good.
Have you ever sparred Brad, Jack?
No, mate. No, I haven't. No, not at all.
He's very hard to spar. But there was some really good. There's some really good talent down in Plymouth. I mean, there were 3 fighters, and I don't like. They all performed well, but 3 performed exceptionally, and that was Conrad Adaway at featherweight, took on a Ghanaian who's been fighting some good kids and totally dominated him. Conrad Adaway's only a young kid. He's a brilliant young fighter. Brilliant young fighter, immense talent.
And I like Connor. He's Chris Hadaway's brother, isn't he?
Yeah.
Chris being the kind of journeyman type over the last few years.
Connor's really good, and he put on a fantastic performance. Another one who was very impressive was a chap called Conor McIntosh, former Welsh champion. He was really, really similar. And Charlie Giles was there, the head of the boxing board. And I took Charlie back to his hotel after the fight, and all he kept talking about was Conor McIntosh in the car. That Conor McIntosh is going to be a star. He's brilliant. He's amazing. And that's the head of the boxing board. So that was really interesting. And he was that good. And Konstantin Ursa was a top-class amateur, and it's coming together for him, and he moved to 3-0. Now, all of those fighters were, I would say, outstanding. There were some others that done very well as well. Just going through the rest of the card, Harry Armstrong recorded a 39-37 over Phil Williams. Phil Williams came to fight. It was a really tough fight. I mean, my God, Phil, it was, I thought Harry deserved the win just, but I mean, some people thought it was a drawing side. It was that good a fight. Lewis Everson's real decent fight. He fought Seamus Devlin. He won on points, and Lewis is a talented kid. Again, he's going to be winning. He'll win an area title and stuff like that. So there's no doubt with him. Dylan Courtney had his first fight at home. He had 2 on the road under his previous manager, but we've now. It's very odd because he's actually a good ticket seller. So I don't know why he was put on the road. It makes no sense. And he's decent, like everywhere. He's going up. He's definitely going to win titles, and he's decent as well.
You're nodding, Jack. Do you know him?
No, just I'm listening and learning, mate, taking it all in.
Look, I mean, the others.
What's his notebook at the end?
The two disasters were Darren Townley got beat by Jordan Grant. Although, and I told Chaz Coakley afterwards, I think Chaz was the only person in the whole arena that scored it to Jordan. Even Jordan said he lost. Jordan said afterwards, I lost 3 rounds. And so that was a big surprise. But again, you can't, it was how Chaz, it's only Chaz's opinion that matters.
Yeah.
I just didn't have that opinion. But yeah, so Darren lost, and Marcus Hodgson drew with Luke Fash, who it was a competitive little fight. And Marcus is now going on the road. He's going to try his luck as being a journeyman. So he's going to change. He's going to change tactics. He's coming down to York Hall to have a fight at the end of November. So good luck to him on his new chosen route. Yeah, and his new chosen route. So
I feel sorry for whoever he's going to fight in his first fight, because I think it takes a little while for a boxer to get into that correct mentality.
Definitely.
You saw it with the likes of, I mean, Robbie Chapman turned over the German fella, didn't he, on his first trip in the away corner.
Yeah.
And he needed a handful of fights to get out of that mentality of getting into a scrap and a proper tear up. But then
or even just trying to win, isn't it? Yeah.
Although Robbie went and won his last fight in 2 rounds, didn't he?
He did indeed.
He flips backwards and forwards. It's these journeymen are always capable of springing up surprises and upsets.
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. Right, and then roll back to Liam.
Plymouth, what I want to say, Plymouth, there's a lot of talent down there. And Dalton Miller went all the way down from London to have a fight, and he won as well. And so he was so upset with the fact that he never got the decision against Jordan at York Hall that he wanted to fight the week after to put it right, and he went down and won 40-36 against Kristaps Zorgis. So fair play to Dalton for making that journey to do that. So.
And what was Plymouth like? What were the people of Plymouth like?
The boxing, the actual demand for boxing in Plymouth, it's a real hotbed. And like Brad has helped to build it. There's a kid that didn't fight on Saturday called Billy Stanbury, and he's probably going to lead the charge with all these other kids. But it's a hotbed of talent down there, and the people in Plymouth love it. The demand for boxing is amazing. It was absolutely sold out to the rafters. You couldn't have got another person in there. It was absolutely brilliant, and it's a great place. It's a great place to go for boxing. It's good fun. We went out on the Friday night, found at a pub. First thing we ended up, we had a drag artist in the pub. It was all of us out there. We thought, oh well, okay, we'll embrace it. So that was our Friday night, and it was really good fun. And
because presumably Brad will now be moving on to the Wasserman show.
Yeah, so that'll be that's him done. That's him done at the Plymouth Guild.
Yeah, so Billy Stanbury takes on the mantle of kind of picking it up down in Plymouth, plus the others that are down there.
Exactly. So that's brilliant.
Cool. Let's roll it back then.
Liam Dillon, Dennis Wahome for we had another Goodwin boxing English champion. So we've had. Since we've gone back, we've had a Lewis Surrett as a Southern Area middleweight champion, and now we've got Liam Dillon as the English super featherweight champion. So that's 2 more champions to our roster. We haven't finished this year yet either, so it was great, and he deserved the win against Dennis Wahome for sure. It was a very awkward fight. Dennis was running and pot shotting, and Liam was trying to cut the ring off. It was one of those sort of fights, and in the last round. It was, if ever there was an argument for a 10-8 round with a no knockdown, it was it. I mean, Dennis was gone, and another 30 seconds, I think he'd have been knocked out. But he just managed to survive, and he was tough. And Dennis Wahome deserved to finish the fight on his feet, but the right man won.
Yeah, and it's been a long wait for Liam to get that opportunity to get back in there and fight for the English title, hasn't it? So congratulations to him and his team.
Yeah.
It's brilliant for him. So presumably looking at either defending or moving up?
Yeah, we're going to sit down and have a look at the options probably in the next couple of weeks and make some sort of decision going forward. But yeah, we're going to have a look at what there is for him. We're in a good position now with Liam, so we can sit and look and decide.
And how many English titles is that you've won now through Goodwin Boxing? 10?
11, I think.
11.
We've had one world champion.
Was the first, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've had one world champion, one British champion, one WBA international champion. I think it's 11 English champions, and I think it's 24, 25 Southern Area champions.
There you go, Jack. You need to get your name into
There you go, mate. There you go.
There you go.
Get
There's
little
your
asterisks
calling.
for another one, eh?
It's not a bad record, though, is it?
No, it's a good record. It's a very good record.
But
Do you know what, as well? Those Southern area, those English title fights as well, they're always good dust-ups. Like, if you get two guys or two girls that really want it, you know, they make for really good fights. And I think they're a lot of the time Sky and these big companies, they overlook some of those fights.
Totally agree. I could so much better than some of the crap that's on there. It's unbelievable.
I can't remember the last bad area fight that I watched.
No, neither can
I genuinely can't. Like, they're always good because they're two lads that are around the same. You don't get mismatches.
No.
And they're two lads that, it's almost winner stays on, isn't it? It's.
I'd rather watch that than some talented person fight an Eastern European or Mexican that's just levels below. It's just.
Yeah. I don't need to watch Eubank put his 15th opponent in a row, breaking their ribs and making them quit. Like, I want a meaningful fight. I don't need to see that. So yeah,
and that's what people buy tickets for as well. You know.
Yeah.
So next week we'll preview the Dylan White card, and then obviously we've got 3 shows coming up: 20th, 27th of November, where Jack features on the 27th and the 4th of December. So it's all happening.
Yes. Yeah. So November's when it's back on. But yeah, week after this one, Dillian White, I'm going to skip the entire undercard because it's garbage. Apart from Ellie Scottney, because Ellie Scottney's fighting on it, and I love Ellie Scottney to bitch. Great. And Craig Richards on there, but it's a meaningless fight again.
But we'll cover that. We'll cover that next week.
Yeah, but then we'll be back in November for some proper York All action.
And we'll have you back on, Jack, after you win. We'll have you back on the week.
Yeah, definitely. It's not even that long. It's like 40 odd days as well. It's going to come around quick, mate.
Not the accounting or anything.
No, nothing. The app on your phone is,
Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, having you on. Thank you very much.
Lovely to meet you, Martin. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll be back to talk about what's going on in November. It's an absolute pleasure. Steve, as always, thank you. Go and
take care.
Go home. I can see you in the office. You shouldn't be there at this hour.
Yeah, get yourself home, Steve.
I'm going now.
Right. Take care,
Right,
gents.
No problem. Listen, see you later. Good
see you later. Take care. Bye.